Isn't life Grandia?
Sure. I don't know how to answer that one.
So, Grandia is being brought back in a big way to the Nintendo Switch. We are going to be getting HD versions of not just Grandia, but Grandia 2 as well. So, a little bit of a history lesson. Grandia was an RPG that had a really unique battle system, especially for the time. It was kind of one of those...
Revolutionary battle system?
No. I wouldn't go
just
that far. Unique. Graphics-wise, it was, 2D sprites against a 3D background that would rotate and pivot and stuff. But your character would move around in combat. You weren't just stuck, taking hits between each other. You could actually move around to an extent. And they continue that in future Grandia games. Now, the game, the first Grandia was on the Sega Saturn, was later ported to the PlayStation, and then Grandia 2 came out on the Dreamcast, which was later ported to the PlayStation 2. And apparently PC also has Grandia 2. You can get it on Steam now. And a lot of people are saying that's the HD version that we're going to see released on to the Switch. So I actually used to have a roommate who really liked Grandia a lot.
He's probably rejoicing right now.
Yeah, probably. David, if you're out there, you should know about this if you don't know about this yet, because very recently, revealed that this was going to be happening. So, Grandia the first one came out in 1999. I want to say Grandia 2 was an early 2001, 2002 release. Probably depending on which system, Dreamcast or PS2 you're talking about. And it was originally developed by Game Arts, and I'm kind of confused because I don't really know if Game Arts is still around or who really owns the rights to this game anyway. I'm looking at the IGN article, and it doesn't really state what company is bringing these back. I remember hearing about it earlier in the week, but it's not in the article, and I can't find it. So, that's not the point. The point is we're getting two really well-received and well-loved. Think about Grandia. There was a period in time during the 90s, a little bit into the 2000s, where everyone wanted to make an RPG, basically because of Final Fantasy VII. That's how big Final Fantasy VII was. It basically, it was kind of like if, let me think. If Halo was kind of the game that proved that proved that first-person shooters not only work on consoles, they could be really good on consoles. Final Fantasy VII was like the RPG that really proved to people hey, these games are worth your time and attention, and they're incredible. So this kind of kicked off a bit of a golden age of RPGs, and everyone trying to kind of get the same success that Final Fantasy met.
The problem I see with that the golden age is they all look the same to me. They'll have the same art style kind of, and they have the same kind of I don't know, to me RPGs they're all just so similar. As far as the fighting system goes and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. I can't agree with you on that, because they even within just the Final Fantasy series, they Square would always find ways of being how can we make the battle system here different and tweak that, and it's during the NES and the Super NES days, sure, I agree with you. Those Final Fantasies were always characters are on the right, enemies are on the left. You put in your inputs, and then everyone attacks each other, and then they brought the time gauges out, and then your time had to fill up, and then you could perform an action. But they did kind of get to a point here. I do think eventually they began to become stagnant. But the PS2 and the sixth generation really was a shot in the arm, and kind of made people play around with the formula again and come up with new ideas. But that's kind of also where it started to decline. So it's kind of, I wouldn't call the PS2, Dreamcast, GameCube era a continuation of the Golden Age, but it had some really good ones, like Final Fantasy X was like my second favorite Final Fantasy game. And there were just, it was weird. It's like RPG elements started making their way into other games, like the Fallout series and, of course, Kingdom Hearts, which is more like an action RPG. But it just seems like the RPG elements made their way into other games, so people didn't feel like they needed to sit down for 70 hours to enjoy that kind of gameplay.
Yeah. That's the thing about RPGs is like, the thing that gets me about them is just the investment of time and of just learning the game. Like, I don't know, if it's just like a game where you run around, fight stuff, and do things, you kind of know what you're getting into, and you can kind of get it really quickly. Yeah. But I feel like with like, if you have like a bunch of like, you know, I said they're the same, but like at the same time, you know, they're all pretty different. Obviously, like just the mechanics and what's inside them and stuff, and the items, the enemies. There's so much to learn to really like get good at, and I can see how that could be an appeal for some people. But like for me, it's just like, I don't know, and there's like the time investment of just having to kill, you know, crappy enemies over and over again to level up and stuff.
Yeah,
it gets a little tired, but yeah, I mean, I could see how people, you know, the fans of like Final Fantasy and stuff of RPGs would be excited for these remakes.
Yeah, because they really are like just relics of like a golden age of RPGs, and again, I know the term is thrown around a lot, but like these games really would be perfect for the Switch. I think the Switch is a lot of people like I've been hearing pretty much since the Switch was released that, oh well, it's another underpowered Nintendo system, so it won't be able to run games that the other consoles can run, or if it can run them, you wouldn't want to play it on there anyway because they run they don't look as good, or it doesn't run as better, or it doesn't run as well. So, but it's just like, and I made this argument for quite a few years now. Like, you don't have to have a game doesn't have to be to look like it runs on an Xbox One X for it to be, you know, a great game. There's a lot of crappy games that look great.
I don't know, Steven. I gotta have my Minecraft looking pristine. You know, every pixel needs to look, you know, razor sharp.
In that case, don't get it on 2DS because it's not even HD on there.
Have you played these games?
I watched a good bit of them.
You gonna get them on Switch?
Sounds like a no. I don't think so because I don't.
Close but no cigar, Nintendo.
Case in point, as I gesture to my untouched pile of games on my bookcase.
Yeah, right.
Oh, goodness. Like, yeah, I just have too much as it is. And like you said, lots of time. Yeah. But if you are the type of person that's really been craving like something from that era of gaming that is going to give you a lot of that's the other thing. RPGs give you such bang for your buck. Like they're so long that if you've got that kind of time, then you're not going to spend a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
Nowadays I really hate hearing about RPGs having DLC. It's like, no. The whole point of an RPG is to have a ton of content already. Like even I have Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That has DLC. I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
It's already a huge sprawling adventure. What more do you feel like you need to add to get more money from me?
It's just those, you know, they just want more money, those big corporate executives.
Well, this is a simpler time. So if you're interested in an RPG where it's not going to try to nickel and dime you to death, hit up Grandia 1 and 2.